Hello there. So, as the United States teeters on the brink of theocratic, plutocratic neo fascism, a pertinent question is whether, after everything we have seen gained over time, and after everything we have lost or risk losing, it is possible to build a real society on a more rational basis. Can we, as we live in a non democratic state, increasingly, can we end the oppressive elements of society by the means of freedom? This is not necessarily just a concern for any self professed anarchist types out there. Increasingly, I think anyone even marginally on the left, or liberals, including mainstream liberals and neoliberal and even capitalist types, I think they all have reason to ask such questions. I've often quoted Rebecca Henderson of the Harvard Business School, who stated, I think the decline of democracy is a mortal threat to the legitimacy and health of capitalism. So, yes, the stability of capitalism itself is under threat from itself, and even some self professed capitalists are recognizing and attempting to reform the system, or at least writing articles about it. Thus, they should and must be among the ones offering alternatives and perhaps some new ideas and proposing actionable steps. No one should be forgotten and alone, and no one should be without a safe and adequate place to live, as a certain slogan goes. Well, I'm paraphrasing it, but you get the idea. And what about the end of terror and the end of war? The problem is there's money to be made from those particular products, money and power, that is perfectly relevant to our particular state capitalist system. A society in which the private possesses the government and the public is an individual dominated society is indeed already an authoritarian society. At best, maybe we could convince ourselves that we are hybrid democracies of some kind. If these words are true at all that I'm speaking, why aren't more people demanding a more significant return to democracy? Well, part of the problem is we were never really truly that democratic to begin with, and we were just sort of heading in that direction. If capitalism is a social system in crisis, what kind of alternatives can we provide? Maybe green capitalism, something like that? Given my views, I would argue that if we as a species are to survive into a post capitalist and still climate change coping era, we must pursue a society based on a rational economic foundation. But it's like that saying everybody talks about the weather, but nobody does anything about it. That's a quote falsely attributed to Mark Twain, but it has an interesting ring to it regarding, the concerns about climate change, which some people tell you still in America. Some people say, oh, climate change doesn't exist. But, it brings to mind the whole Greta Thunberg uh, scene where she's demanding people do something about it, then being mocked by a certain subset of the population, including, for her youthfulness and all that kind of stuff. But I think the best reason for rejecting overt capitalist greed is the concrete evidence that it is actually failing, at least for most people. And capitalists should reject it every bit as much as they would reject authoritarian communism. It actually does not need to be a dichotomy. That it's sort of false the way we're given this dichotomy in America, where it's either the free libertarian market or you've got a communist dictatorship. Well, really, when it comes down to it, you can have a capitalist leaning dictatorship, right? Now, I know some people out there will say, oh, but the capitalist system, that is the free market. Well, there never really has been a truly free market. I mean, if you're being honest about that. So, whether or not one is a revolutionary or a libertarian, I think most would agree that we are in dire need of a fundamental change in our economic system and our political system. In such a situation, one would think that humanity would coalesce around new ideas. But we first need to accept that there is a problem and reject a lot of these false dichotomies. I think capitalists can stop bowing down to private corporate power and money, because if that really is all that there is to life, then what else is even left? What are we even talking about? So hopefully I give you some food for thought here, and that's about all I'm going to say for now, and have a good day.